So we will have on stage Pol Victoria, Liberland Ambassador, and Gino Yu, Professor Gino Yu from Hong Kong Polytechnic Institute, who is specialized in human consciousness. Oh, retired, sorry, but you're still working, you're still active, yeah. Anyway, great to hear this interesting fireside chat. Thanks, guys.
Gino, do you think?
So we just to let you all know, we had slides, but there were last minute changes, so we're just gonna kind of play with this.
Yeah.
A little bit of background. We also just met at Davos at the World Economic Forum, actually where I met Vit and some of the other people. And we actually got into a conversation. Actually, Samnella, the previous speaker, Sam, yeah, was talking about, kind of her expressions of freedom, both internal kind of and external. And me, I've been fascinated, with this kind of creating new countries. And really, we're looking at culture and what is it that brings a group of people together. And my conversation with Vit, typically when you talk about a village and a group of people coming together to live together and to create something, usually you have kind of the village. In early days, you had the village leader who kind of governs and decides how people should organize and helps to resolve disputes and everything. And then in early villages, you have the village shaman. This is someone that sees the unseen. And so things like the crops, should we go to war, all of these things that you can't really kind of predict and foresee, they consult somebody and I asked Vit, in the country of Liberland, what do you have for culture? And then he said, oh, talk to Paul. And so that's how Paul and I kind of first met. And so we decided to, especially at the 10th anniversary and as the population grows, and I heard there's a list of about 800,000 people that would like to that are aware of Liberland and would like to become citizens. It was important to start thinking about, what is the culture and what is the thing that brings the people together. Paul?
Thank you very much, Gino. It was a very nice presentation. I would like to also start to talk, but before, like to put a little bit of energy in the room. Who knows the motto of Javier Milei in Argentina? Do you know how to answer to the motto? Viva la libertad, carajo! No, there's not energy there. I will repeat it. Viva la libertad, carajo! A little bit more, Gino, huh? We're lifting the energy a little bit. So thank you, Gino. We now have a very nice friendship. And we think this is a very important chat because we need to build the ethos of Liberland. So what is ethos? Does somebody here knows, raise hand if somebody knows the word ethos? 2, 3, 4, 5 people only. This is very important because it comes from a Greek word which means character. Ethos means character, literally, etymologically. So the ethos is the core principles, the fundamental values that define a person, that define a group, that define an organization, that define a business, a civilization, anything. So it's a characteristic spirit of the time and place and circumstance. And you can also say it's the essence, the pure essence of something, of anything. So now the ethos of a country, thank you. You need to lift up the energy again, maybe? Viva la libertad, carajo! Oh, come on. These guys are sleeping still, huh? Very early in the morning. Long night, yeah, I know. So, people, the ethos of a nation It's collective system of beliefs. What the community have in common, that glues the community. So we're speaking about a very important matter here. Every nation has a fundamental character, it has shared values and core beliefs that shape its culture and its social fabric. So the ethos of a nation is this underlying moral and spiritual compass that guides a society's actions, its society's behavior, its society's actions, and influences its identity. So does Liberland need an ethos? What is the answer? Gino, what do you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely yes.
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 Of course.
Of course, Liberland needs an ethos if it wants to be someday a great nation. Even a little nation. Without ethos, Liberland will be nothing. Are we building Liberland's ethos? I would say yes. It's being built. I think we have had fantastic 10 years, first 10 years of building that ethos. And I think we come to a new stage for the next 10 years. The next 10 years, we have to consolidate the ethos of Liberland. And this is fundamental because we can do many other things in innovation, in technology, in government, in economics. We can make reality the houses in the forest, etc. But the ethos is fundamental for our mere existence and, of course, to our future greatness. So, going to basics of Liberland's ethos, because it will be the soul, the spirit, the character. So we have to build all these collective values, ideals, and beliefs that define the nation and that guides its behavior, both internally and also externally, what we transmit to the world. So Liberland's ethos shapes how this country sees itself and how this country is seen from outside, how others see us. So Liberland's ethos will be rooted in our shared history, myths, language, religion, political ideals, economic perspectives, our national struggle, and collective building of community feeling, as any other country does. So we're building that. Then, Gino, you can later speak about the mythology and the functional mythology. It's very important. But here we have to deal with what is Liberland and what we are as a nation. So characteristics of ethos, so that you have it in mind, is first, a nation's ethos means identity. First characteristic, identity. It is what citizens believe their country stands for. Let's say, like freedom, or resilience, or innovation, or religion, or justice. Any country has its own identity. We have to find our own identity, and we're building it right now. Second characteristic, nation's ethos is aspirational. It's not only our identity, but what do we aspire to? So countries often craft an ethos around what they want to be, even if reality falls short. So what do we want to be? Ladies and gentlemen, have you thought about it? I inspire you to take today to what we are, identity, and what we aspire to be. So third characteristic is that the nation's ethos evolves. It's not static. So a country's nation can shift after war, after revolution, after crisis, after conspiracy actions, or after generational change. We're just beginning, we're just a baby, so we're just growing and building this first ethos of Liberland. And I'm just going to put some examples, like, well, I think we don't have a lot of time, but I would like to talk to you about what ancient Greece represented the Roman Empire, Israel, revolutionary France, Spain. Each of them has its own ethos. If we have time, we can comment, but I will try to just brief so that we can go into the functional mythology that Gino needs to explain to you. And we have also modern day examples, the United States and its evolution is not the same as it was founded, and now the essence the United States has, the ethos has a little bit changed. Japan changed a lot, Germany, China, South Africa. And we have also the microstate nations. These are examples. Andorra, for example, is who knows Andorra here? Almost all. It's a microstate that its ethos is isolation turned identity, neutrality, cultural duality, nature first, quiet pride, for example. That defines Andorra. I will define Monaco, for example. Its ethos, it's glamour, exclusivity, heritage, royalty, discretion, financial savvy. Or let's take the Liechtenstein example, for example. Its ethos would be order, would be discretion, industriousness, monarchy with modernity, alpine strength. So we could speak a lot of all these, any country, its history, how it was made, and all the ethos that was built. So we have to have this conscience as a nation. We're not just a business or a group of friends, because if we don't have ethos, we will be only a bunch of hippies with alcohol and marijuana. No. We are building, of course, a very, very greater ethos of Liberland. So what is our mission? To create the ethos of Liberland. Why? Because it's absolutely necessary. When? Right now, the next 10 years are very important to consolidate this introduction of the first 10 years. Where? Right now, here in Liberland, in Ark Village, in Liberbase, and in all places, all embassies and all representatives that we have around the world, each community in each local community in each other country, there we also have to build the ethos of Liberland. And of course, in our virtual community, which is of hundreds and thousands of people, there in our interactions, we are all building the ethos of Liberland. Who? All of us. Because the ethos at the end will be what each one of us will build. We come from so many different countries. Gino from Hong Kong, me from Madrid, and I know here are like, I don't know, 70 different countries represented maybe, and with the virtual and physical people here attending. So each have our background, and each will add value to the country. So we are building the ethos of Liberland. And how? I don't have time to explain my part of how, but I will leave some insights to Gino so that you can have these clues of how to build.
Great, thanks a lot. So I just want to provide a little thought experiment for you all right now here. If we were meeting here 3,000 years ago or so, and we were living here, think of the whole planet around that time. And if we had a discussion or an argument and then lightning struck, we would actually interpret that as something significant. Think 3,000 years ago. And so nature here in Liberland speaks to people in a certain way. And if you live this way for thousands of years, the way that nature speaks to a group of people and the way that people engage each other becomes codified into a culture. And a culture, usually, if you think about it, it's a functional it creates a functional mythology. Because nature speaks to people here, very different from, say, in Alaska or Saudi Arabia, and through the thousands of years of development, those codified laws and rules are different because nature speaks to a group of people differently. And so with that, my rules say this, your rules say this, that creates, with globalization, there becomes conflict. And then with certain peoples developing more advanced than others, with technology, I can then potentially enslave you or take over, colonize you as well too. And so that's what's been happening around the world with time. But if you think about how things started thousands of years ago, it was groups of people coming together, engaging in nature. And when people come together, they create what's called a functional mythology. And a functional mythology serves 4 functions. There's the cosmological function of what is reality. There's a societal function of how do we interoperate and how do we work together to create things. There's the pedagogical function of how do you get people through the different stages of life. And then there's the mystical function of how do you get people to see the transcendent mystery source from which all things arise. And then that's what creates a functional mythology. Our early religions started from that, and then our early nation states all built from that as well too, which ties into this ethos that Paul talks about. The problem with the planet today is that there is no functional mythology. All of these fractional things based upon their beliefs and ideals have created kind of this mishmash that we have today. And so we have things that have brought people together like global warming, concern about the environment, which becomes a global concern, and even COVID were things that started to bring people together to really look at, hey, this is a global problem. We have to get beyond our provisional thinking and really think, bigger about this. Generally speaking, when you talk about mythologies and you talk about functional mythologies, there's what's called the right-hand path, where you follow the rules of the local culture and the local society that was developed. And then there's the left-hand path, where you look at the way that people are doing and say, to hell with this, I'm going to go all in on my thing. I'm going to follow my bliss. And that's the left-hand path. The right-hand path, follow the rules and traditions. Left-hand path is to hell with that. I'm going to go off and I'm going to go explore and I'm going to discover. And if you look at Liberland and most of its population, generally speaking, we are all left-hand path people, right? Yeah. And so with that, there's a bigger demand of what is it, and eventually if you look at social media and technology, it's all left-hand path. More and more people are disenfranchised with the way the world and society is today, and it's creating the powerful thing for this. What Liberland can do for the whole planet and the globe is what is the ethos and what is the culture for these left-hand path people. And then that's a really, really exciting thing. Generally speaking, you have the consensus reality people, and they're the ones that are happy with the right hand. You have the outliers, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the scientists that are pushing the envelope for consensus reality. Generally speaking, and I'm going to just touch a little bit upon kind of the personal development side. If I'm a consensus reality person and I have a near-death experience, or if I'm an outlier and I push too hard, that's going to trigger what's known as, and I'm going to introduce you all to this, and it's my specialty, a spiritual emergency or an awakening experience. How many of you have had kind of an experience where you all of a sudden reality just doesn't mean anything anymore? Some of you may end up in a psych ward or something like this because of a personal situation you had. It's either through a near-death experience, a deep spiritual practice, an existential crisis, or the use of psychedelics that can induce that kind of a thing. And generally speaking, there's going to be this awakening experience where there's like a 2-week to a 1-month period where ideally someone gets to you, or else you're probably going to end up in a psych ward. After that, you need to be stabilized. You have to get back into your body, and then you have to be sustainable. So previously I was a banker, now I feel like I should be a coach or a healer or something like that. And then above that is what we would call a mystic, someone that is thriving kind of in this space. And then that's the pedagogical function. And so there are things, if you look at people, and I think the ideas are freedom is clearly one of the values in Liberland, and I think flourishing and helping, how do we help each other flourish and come together to find our own reason for being in relation to our relationship with nature. And I think those are the really important values and what we're looking to undertake with this whole notion of ethos.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Gino. I think it's wonderful explained. I just wanted to make this clarification because many times, or usually when the world hears the word right hand or left hand, it means like politically. Forget about those concepts. Gino was not talking about that, of course. I think he really explained well what means the normal path and the alternative path.
And then we're out of time, but what we would like to do, I think Pol is talking about too, is kind of sharing these ideas in terms of consciousness and the development of consciousness. Sam shared her ideas of what life means and everything, and it's going to be very individual for each person in this. But convening gatherings, I think, around the world of Liberlanders to maybe educate you a little bit more about kind of the developmental psychology and what happens with these awakening experiences and beyond. And then also coming together to share that information, but then bringing people together, I think, as Pol mentioned, to develop and define the ethos of Liberland, especially over the next years. And I think there's a huge opportunity for this, not only for Liberland, but also globally of all of the outliers that are kind of disenfranchised with the way that systems are today. And I think there's a huge opportunity to explore this and to capitalize on this and figure out the meta, if you're familiar with the hero's journey and understanding how nature speaks to a group of people so that they can reconnect to their own true nature and to live from that. I think that's the huge thing that we're embarking upon, not only for Liberland, but for the whole planet.
Yeah, Gino and I will start these retreats to help people so that to gather and to help them find their best versions of themselves and to elevate as outliers. Because I think people in Liberland are not the normal people that you find in the world, but they have a big potential, and we can help this come out with these gatherings and retreats, and we'll have them here in this place and in other parts of the world. So you're welcome to unite us, and through those methods, try to help to build the best ethos of Liberland that we can build.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, one second. You know, as just a symbol, as building the ethos of Liberland, we can imitate the Millet thing. So remember, this will also be part of the ethos of Liberland, I guess so. So, viva la libertad, carajo!
All right, thanks.
Thank you.